Top music: My Sharona, The Knack, 1979. Ebony and Ivory, Paul McCartney with Stevie Wonder, 1982. That's What Friends Are For, Dion and Friends, 1985. Another Day in Paradise, Phil Collins, 1989. Dream Lover, Mariah Carey, 1993. What makes your generation unique? Top 5 responses Generation Xers give about themselves. Technology use, 12%. Work ethic, 11%. Conservative, traditional, 7%. Smarter, 6%. Respectful, 5%. How Gen Xers see themselves at work. Top-ranked terms used to describe coworkers in the same generation. Confident, competent, willing to take responsibility, willing to put in extra time to wrap a job, ethical. At Donkey Kong's peak, 60,000 arcade machines were in use worldwide. The game came out in 1981 as Generation X entered their teenage years and surprised the gaming world with a hero who was neither handsome nor endowed with superpowers. Rather, he was a middle-aged construction worker who needed to rescue his girlfriend, Pauline, from the gorilla Donkey Kong by climbing scaffolding and jumping over barrels. In Donkey Kong Country, the 1994 update, the famous gorilla had to swing over chasms on vines to save his hoard of bananas. No matter what version, gamers had to master successively harder challenges if they were to get the girl or the bananas. Even more, the technology behind the games themselves changed so quickly that new versions of Donkey Kong required buying new gaming consoles or computers just to play them. This meant Generation X teens had to learn both new equipment and the game's new levels. Players might die hundreds of times before they gained the skills necessary to conquer each level, but with patience, concentration, and caffeine, they would make it to the end. Donkey Kong is a great metaphor for Generation X. If Tinker Bell's pixie dust symbolizes the almost magical optimism of the baby boomers, Donkey Kong symbolizes the unrelenting challenges that Generation X had to overcome, as well as the technological tools that seemed to give them a way to do it. Generation Xers grew up in a world that was running out of pixie dust. Divorce, latchkey kids, multiple recessions, global competition, missing children on milk cartons. Gen Xers learned to roll with the bad news and land on their feet. Their lives matched their video games because Donkey Kong had to swing from vines and then land on his feet or fall to his death. Because every Donkey Kong player would, from time to time, miss the landing and fall off the side of the cliff, smart gamers hedged their bets. They collected enough coins along the way to get another life so they could come back to the same level, rather than having to start over at the beginning of the game. Life for Xers was similar when it threw surprises at them that were often beyond their control. So Gen Xers became realists, hedging their bets. They found new families, constantly learned and rewired their lives, and cautiously enjoyed things today rather than betting on an idealized future that might never happen. Instead of relocating 7 times in 10 years as the boomers had, they stayed put so they could be close to their friends who would become their families. Instead of coming in early and staying late to prove themselves at work, they pushed their organizations to install technology that would help them get work done faster so they could get on with their lives. Instead of jumping into homeownership, they traveled. Instead of conspicuous consumption, they chose the simpler grunge look or wore khakis to work. But what Gen X saw as realistically coping with life's never-ending challenges, the older generation saw as cynical and whiny. Even the name Gen X is partially a slam. When it first became obvious that this new generation didn't think like traditionalists or baby boomers, no one knew what to call them because they were still an unknown. Douglas Copeland first called them X, the unknown in algebra, and to their and his horror, the name stuck. His 1992 novel, Generation X: Tales for an Accelerated Culture, described disengaged, pessimistic, but well-educated 20-somethings who could neither find a job in their field nor find their way to the good life the boomers